Hey guys, welcome to another closer look. In this episode, we're going to look at Drake Interplanetary. So here it is, guys, the Drake fleet. But before we begin, there's a saying that I found which I think that sums up Drake in a nutshell. I found this on a brochure and it goes like this. Drake defines the outlaw spirit that many find indivisible from space flight in general, with utilitarian ships built for the hardworking people of the Empire. So here we've got words like the outlaw spirit, we've got utilitarian, and we've got the term hard-working people, which I think really encompasses Drake's philosophy. Drake wants to bring cheap, easy to access alternatives to what is available generally out on the market from, military focused manufacturers, dedicated utilitarian type manufacturers like MISC. We will see that Drake looks for those little gaps and tries to bring a cheaper alternative to the people of the verse. As usual, let's start off with the name Drake Interplanetary. So when I first heard the term Drake, when I first bought Star Citizen, I thought definitely the CEO or the guy or lady that invented Drake was called Drake, but that's not the case. Drake was actually created by a lady called Jan Dredge, which reminds me of Judge Dredd, sorry. It was founded in 2845, guys. That's 107 years ago. So in our last video, MISC was 150 years old. Now we know that Drake is 107 years old. So none of these so far ship manufacturers that I've looked at are like ancient. They're only about 150 years ago. Again, it'll be interesting to see if there is any like really old, or what is the oldest ship manufacturer currently in the verse. So Jan Dredge, she was actually a designer before she incorporated Drake. She designed the cutlass, obviously, in-game lore here, not real life. And she was a very controversial figure, Jan Dredge, because at the end of the day, when you make something really accessible and really cheap, then all sorts of people are going to buy your products, including criminals. And a lot of criminals, outlaws, end up buying Drake products, and Jan Dredge was caught on a recording admitting that she didn't mind outlaws and criminals buying Drake products. In fact, she in a way was proactively supplying these nefarious characters with her products. So when that recording was made public, a lot of victims of the crimes came out and wanted the cutlass to be outlawed. So yeah, people wanted to cancel the cutlass. In 2947, which is only 5 years ago in game, she, because of this embarrassment, she apologized and she put her son in place, John Dredge, which again sounds like Judge Dredd. And John only was a caretaker for 1 year, guys. This is weird. I want to know what happened in Drake, because they put a young, talented CEO by the name of Andon Arden, known as the Fixer, to take over John's position after a year. And I think maybe, I don't know if the Dredge family still own Drake or they're shareholders, but they seem like they wanted to distance themselves from Drake to allow Drake to move on. And they bought in Andon Arden, who I've got a picture of here. The charming Andon Arden. He looks like a young guy, so good on him for reaching these lofty ranks. He was actually a CEO of another company called Wold Vol Aerospace, which made small ships. It was a small ship manufacturer, and that company was dissolved, and Arden stepped away with a lot of money, whilst a lot of employees in that company walked away with nothing. So is Arden an angel? No, but he is known as the Fixer, and I think again he's here to move Drake forward and in a way kind of change its reputation from we supply criminals to we bring cheaper alternatives to people, hardworking people of the verse. All right, so here, guys, is the fleet of Drake, and obviously the two big bad boys here are the Kraken. You can see that it looks like a World War II, or actually looks like a current aircraft carrier, which is, again, that quirky Star Citizen view of the future. It takes a lot of tropes from World War II. Some of it can be a little bit too much for me sometimes. Look, I love the Kraken. I actually own a privateer. But I think leaving your ships out on the surface, outside in deep space, and you know, space is a very, very hostile environment. Things are flying around. There's different gamma rays and whatnot. There's things that you don't know about. And just leaving your ship parked outside is a little bit weird in my view. But hey, you know, it's a World War II. So we've got the privateer and we've got the Kraken, and I've got the Javelin here just so you can get a sense of the scale of the Kraken. It's obviously almost half the length, I think, of, or a little bit more than half the length of a Javelin. So it's 270 meters long. I've got some fun facts here. I think it's got 9 turrets. Both of them have got 9 turrets. So the top one here is a privateer, and the bottom one is the normal Kraken. They've got 9 turrets, 1 size 8, 4 size 6s, and 4 size 5s. So that's no joke. It can definitely defend itself. There's no doubt about that. It's going to have 2 capital shields, which is cool. It's better than 1 capital shield. And 6 landing pads here on the surface. You can see the 4 small landing pads and the 2 medium landing pads for medium ships. So that's 8. So that's 6 landing pads in total on both ships, on both versions. Now, a fun fact is the privateer was customized by Cousin Crows. So Cousin Crows got a contract from Drake to customize one of these babies into one of these babies. So we all know Cousin Crows is probably the most colorful shop in the verse at Orison. If you haven't been, go check it out. It's a cool place. And so the Kraken is a standard light aircraft carrier, right? It's got plenty of storage. I think, yeah, the Kraken's got 3,792 SKU versus the privateer, which has got 768 SKU. So it's got a lot more storage. Both of them have got a Dragonfly bay as well in the back. Sort of repair and maintain Dragonflies, which is another Drake vehicle that we'll look at shortly. But you can put other small craft into that bay as well and deploy them from there. The Kraken will have 2 internal hangars, so not all of your ships are going to be exposed on the outside. You will have 2 internal hangars where you can bring in your ships and maintain them. The privateer will have only 1 internal hangar as opposed to the Kraken's 2 internal hangars. Now, both of these ships, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, please CIG, and maybe there has been an announcement that I've missed, they should have a med bay, right? You can't have an aircraft carrier filled with people in deep space and someone, you know, breaks a finger and there's no med bay. That kind of doesn't make any sense. So I think in hindsight they've had a look at it, and I think they will be putting a low-level med bay in hopefully both ships, because it would make utterly no sense if they didn't have a med bay, that's for sure. So the privateer is a shopping center. It's a mobile shopping center. It's going to have 10 shops inside it. 8 of them will be public, 2 of them will be private, which is pretty cool. And I think by private, they mean that the shops are inaccessible to everyone except people that you give permission to, maybe your org mates, your allies, your friends. Can access that part of the ship and really have a look at the good stuff, if you know what I mean, in the back. And then there'll be 8 public-facing ships. I think they can be manned by people or NPCs. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. And each shop is going to have its own SKU, right? So for storage of the stock that it will be selling. So that'll be 189 SKU will be allocated to each shop to put their stuff in. So yeah, guys, this is the two Krakens. Amazing, right? Like very iconic. Again, World War II aircraft carrier look. Some people like it. Most people will like it. It's really quirky. To me, it's just a really quirky design, but I love it. I love it. Next, we're going to look at the iconic Cutlass series, guys. I mean, who doesn't know about the Cutlass? It's one of the Cutlass Black here. It's 36 meters long. It's got a crew of 2. It's got 1 turret and 4 guns in the front. It's got VTOL. You can point the engines down, which a lot of people do, mind you. The ace pilots that can kick ass in a Cutlass use VTOL in combat. They switch back and forth from it, which is pretty cool. It's known as a medium freight, medium fighter ship. To me, it's definitely more medium freight. Look, you can do all the PvE stuff, not a problem in it. And if you do have a guy in the turret, you can put up a very, very good fight. Again, everything I say is relative to my average PvP skills. A good pilot, guys, can kick your ass in anything. Okay, so before you all just comment, I know this. You know, a good pilot can bloody kill anyone in a Pisces if he wanted to. So when I give my combat sort of view, I'm talking about an average player like myself. I definitely need someone in the turret if I'm going to stand a chance against, you know, a Gladius or you know, a Warden or anything like that. So that's just my take on it. So that's why it's a medium fighter / medium freight. It's kind of a hybrid thing, and that's what makes it an awesome ship. That hybrid thing is exactly what makes the Cutlass one of the better starter ships. You can put a vehicle in the back. You can put cargo in the back. You can take your friends here and there. You can multi-crew, and yet you can do all the PvE stuff as well. So you know, there is not a more versatile ship than the Cutlass Black, and that is awesome in itself. Then we've got the Cutlass Blue. It's the police van, guys. It has like 1-man cells in the back. It gives up sacrifices some cargo to hold prisoners, if you like. It's got a quantum dampener, so you can prevent people from getting away. And it's really for that bounty hunter / sheriff type gameplay. It's not that frontline combat in any way. It is a police van in the truest sense. It's got a lot of missiles and it's got a wonderful cockpit. I want that on my Cutlass Black. It's got less struts. It's, you know, curved. I love it. I want that on my Cutlass Black. Then we've got the Cutlass Red, guys. The first medical gameplay that came in a gameplay ship was the Cutlass Red. It's got 2 tier 3 beds, I think, in the back. Sacrifices some cargo space. It's got sirens and light, or not sirens, but it's got flashy lights like the Cutlass Blue to let people know that you're, you know, going to rescue someone. The only problem with the Cutlass Red, in my view, is the spotlight is on top of the ship and your view gets, you know, destroyed by the ship because you're on top. The spotlight needs to be on the bottom of the ship so you can kind of really scan around you. Then we've got the meme ship, guys, the Cutlass Steel, the 4th variant of the Cutlass series. It's a drop ship. It holds 18 people. It's got guns out the side, and you know, it's not. I don't see this ship at all in the game very often. But I think I've kind of misjudged it. You know, it's not for a. It is a bit of a meme ship. It's not for any frontline invasion. It's, you know, it's going to get utterly destroyed. It's not a Valkyrie. You know, it's still a Cutlass at the end of the day, which can be a bit fragile. Do you want to put 18 people in a fragile ship? Not really. But I think it's for that cost-effective way of getting a ship that can carry 18 people and using it to drop them on soft targets, not military targets, but soft targets. And this is where Drake is kind of like, we don't sell to criminals, but here's a, you know, cheap drop ship that you can use to, you know, drop 18 people on a non-military target. So its use case, why wouldn't you just get a Valkyrie? And when we say something is cost effective in the verse, I'm going to assume that that means it's cheaper to buy in game. And I'm going to assume that easier to maintain or cheaper to maintain, because these are mythos that Drake push where, you know, where cheaper ships, cheaper to maintain, cheaper to operate, all that sort of stuff. You know, I hope that does become a significant thing in the game where you know, these are significantly cheaper, the insurance costs are significantly cheaper, so that if someone doesn't have money or they're not very wealthy, they do go and buy Drake ships, because that's what Drake ships are for. So we can role play that these ships are for, you know, middle income people, but if everyone's a millionaire in the verse and there's no significant, you know, price differences and things like that, then not many people would get some of these ships, I would assume. So that's the Cutlass, very iconic, very versatile, especially the Cutlass Black, and, you know, medical gameplay and whatnot. Then we've got the Drake Herald, guys. Again, one of my favorite ships. This is my runabout. Why? Because there's only one strategy with the Drake Herald. Pedal to the metal. Sorry about the birds in the background. This kookaburra is blaring. So this Drake Herald is a data running ship. It steals data, it stores data, and it can transmit data as well. It's got an array that can transmit data long distances. It's got a core where it stores its data. I always thought the data was stored on these units on the outside of the ship. But apparently it's going to have an armored core, and it's going to be, and by that I mean where the data is stored, it's going to be armored so that it doesn't get ruined. I don't know why the ship wouldn't be armored, so I'm a bit confused. Is the ship armored or is the core armored? But if the core's only armored and the ship blows up around it, maybe the guy that contracted you to get that data would still be happy. He doesn't care that you've blown up. I'm not sure. But it's also going to have an EMP resistant attribute to it to protect that data, which makes perfect sense. So this thing is a drag car, guys. It just goes in a straight line, hacks the data, transmits the data, stores the data, and you know, runs off. And that's why I love it, because it's a very simple ship to fly. There's only one strategy in my mind when I'm in a Drake Herald, and that's just to pedal to the metal, baby. And a very unique looking ship as well. So that's the Drake Herald. Then we've got the Drake Vulture, which is a salvaging ship that's about to come out. The second salvaging ship that's about to come out, but I think the salvaging mechanic will be working when it does come out, which is awesome. It's got these two long arms. I think initially the concept was to like cut out large pieces of scrap, tractor beam it into these two arms, and you can see those red vertical lines here. They were going to cut those large pieces of scrap into smaller pieces of scrap and suck it in to this little chamber here. So again, it looks very utilitarian. There's like pipes and stuff kind of, you know, flowing on the outside of the arms. I hope we do end up using these cutting lasers, or else having these two long arms would not make sense, to be honest. The cockpit is like up and over where all the action takes place. There's a ramp at the back as well. It apparently looks like, I think, Eve ship called the Venture. I think they've taken a lot of design principles from the Venture. But I can't wait. A tier 1 career starting salvaging ship, very much like the Misk Prospector, except for salvaging. If you wanted to start a career in salvaging, you would get the Drake Vulture. Oh, by the way, it's got when you talk about salvaging ships, it's got you mainly talk about scrapper beams and tractor beams. It's got a size 2 tractor beam and a size 2 scrapper beam. Now, to compare that to the Reclaimer has got 2 size 3 tractor beams and 1 size 4 scrapper beam. So kind of like almost half the size of the Reclaimer's beams. It's all about beams. Next up, we got the Buccaneer, guys. Besides the medium fighter Cutlass, the Buccaneer is the kind of only dedicated fighting ship. It's a ship I would love to have as my go-to light fighter. I just need to get a lot better. I have more success in my arrow. Again, I'm a very average fighter. I struggle a little bit. I struggle a lot in evading with the Buccaneer. And it shouldn't be the best fighter. It shouldn't be the best fighter. It's a low-cost light fighter built to, you know, for people in their settlements and their outposts to use cost effectively. Right, easy to repair, easy to maintain, and again, very interested to see how that actually translates from a player's perspective in the verse. It has a lot of DPS. It's got a size 4. It's got 2 size 3s and 2 size 1s. It can, you know, I think its top speed is pretty good. It can kind of accelerate out of danger a little bit, I think, but its maneuverability is pretty bad. And its jerk profile, I think they call it, is pretty bad. So aiming with it is a little bit difficult as well. But man, I love this ship so much. It reminds me of like a 1980s classic car, like a Datsun or something. And I haven't melted my anvil arrow yet, but I would love to be able to get my skill level to a point where I'm, you know, semi-effective in a Buccaneer, because I love it so much. Then we've got, again, another one of my favorites this is my favorite hover bike, is the Dragonfly. I think it just looks mean. It looks like the Star Wars hover bike, and it can seat 2 people, and I think it's got some cargo storage as well. So, you know, again, really versatile, having that 2-seater, and I love it. It's my favorite hover bike, and I recommend you take it to the Snake Pit and give it a zoom. Then we've got this quirky little mule ship, which is a bit hit and miss in my books. It's meant to be some sort of forklift, you know, cargo delivery, cargo moving. I wish it was a proper forklift where you could like stack boxes or maybe, you know, take things out of the Caterpillar or something. But it's a quirky ship. It's a quirky, not ship. It's a quirky little vehicle. At least it's, you know, we're starting to get some of this, you know, cargo refactor type vehicles that have to do with loading and unloading cargo. So that's the little mule, tiny at 4.2 meters. Then finally, guys, we've got what's going to be, I think, one of my favorite ships, the Corsair. It's coming soon. It's a ship. It's an exploration ship, believe it or not. But it's armed to the teeth in Drake style. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit fragile. I can imagine these wings getting shot off, and but it looks amazing. That asymmetric design, obviously exploration ship. Assuming it's going to have a better standard like scanner. It's going to have some habs to live in, obviously. Some Drake creature comforts. We've seen pictures of. You know, some of the internals, and you know, it's a Drake ship at the end of the day. But yeah, super excited. I think this is going to be the ship that I'm going to use the most, hopefully. And there's a lot of people eagerly awaiting the Corsair to come out. It'll be awesome. Finally, guys, my favorite ship currently in the game. The reason why I really started playing the early hours, in the early days, of my Star Citizen, is the Caterpillar. An amazing looking ship. You know, my favorite. You know, I have seen, you know, long, thin ships in other games, logistic ships, but there's something about the Caterpillar that just, it's the detail, the design, it just oozes logistics, and I love it. I love it so much. It's going to be modular as well in the future. There'll be different modules and stuff, so it won't just be a logistic ship. It'll have different roles, so it'll be interesting to see how the Caterpillar evolves. I think the Caterpillar's future is bright. I think currently it's been superseded by the C2 Hercules that can carry more cargo. It can also carry a lot of vehicles as well, which brings me to the point that I wish that the Caterpillar just had a ramp in the front. Just a simple ramp that came out in the front. You could load vehicles onto the Caterpillar as well, and it would, you know, kind of reduce the gap between it and the C2 Hercules. But the future is bright. The command module, which is this bit here where the cockpit is and the habitation is, this can detach from the main fuselage in the future. So if you're getting attacked, you might just like, here you go, have my cargo and fly off, hopefully. And or maybe, I don't know how it'll work, but maybe when you go to load and unload, you can just kind of drop a fuselage off, go pick up another fuselage and fly off with that. I don't know if that'll ever happen because, you know, ship ownership and all that kind of complication. Over here, you've got a tractor beam station, which has got an amazing view. It's like a little observatory, really. It's a great place to go and stand while you're quantum driving. It's a great place to stand to check out the view. And yeah, so the tractor beam obviously will be used to, you know, load and offload cargo. But amazing looking ship. Love it. 111 meters, 576 skew. It's got 2 turrets, which is decent enough, I suppose. And yeah, guys, that is the Drake fleet. And yeah, again, look, it's not as versatile as the MISC fleet. It's not as numerous as the MISC fleet. They've gone, you know, here's one exploration ship, which is the Corsair. Here's one light fighter, which is the Buccaneer. Here's a salvaging ship, but it's still quite varied. Like, you've got logistics, you've got salvaging, you've got data running, you've got medical, you've got, you know, police, you got a police van. So, you know, it's a small number of ships compared to MISC, but it does have variety. It's just not the amount of variety that MISC has. The standout, obviously, flagship being the Kraken. Kraken is like one of the military ships, right? Like a light aircraft carrier is a military ship. The Buccaneer is another military ship. I'm just putting the combat stuff here as well. And, you know, just with this, you know, just with the tow, you would, I mean, Drake classified the Cutlass as a medium fighter. So that's just the combat stuff. And so, yeah, again, they're not like kind of, you know, waist deep into combat, with the Kraken being really the flagship. So guys, that's the fleet. Let's have a closer look at where Drake is stationed. Welcome to the verse. So here, Drake is in the system called Magnus, guys. And Magnus, as you can see when you zoom out, is really in the heart of the UEE Empire, right? It's not near any alien civilizations. It's really in the heart, and also very well connected. Magnus is connected to Ellis, to Terra, and to Stanton via jump points. Now, these 3 systems are very, how do I say, very significant systems in the Empire. Terra, as we all know, is vying to be the capital of the UEE. Like, they're like, forget planet Earth, we are the new capital of the UEE. That's how important Terra is. That's how influential Terra is. That's how powerful Terra is. So Terra is a very important system in that aspect. Stanton, we all know, you know, a lot of corporations are based in Stanton. Ship manufacturing, IP, intelligence, all that sort of stuff, technology being developed is in Stanton. So again, a very important system to humanity as well. Ellis as well. I haven't deep dived into Ellis, but I know some of the most beautiful planets are in Ellis. Like, I'm talking beautiful planets. A lot of people go, I think, to holidaying and stuff on some of the planets in Ellis, and Ellis is equally an important system. So Magnus is connected to all 3 of these systems. If we take a closer look at Magnus, again, there's not much happening in Magnus. There's only 3 planets, and only one of them is habitable, and that is Berea, and that is where Drake is headquartered at the moment. If we take a quick read of the description, so the former home to the UE's shipbuilding facilities until they moved to Killian. Berea suffered an economic depression for decades. Things have recently begun to improve with ship manufacturer Drake Interplanetary's decision to be headquartered on this planet. So this place was discovered in 2499. That is, let's round that up to 2500. 29. That's about like 450 years ago. 450 years ago, Magnus was discovered, and Berea was terraformed. And the UEE Navy ended up moving to Berea and using it as a ship manufacturing center for the Navy, for the UEE. And then they moved out. They decided to move out, and they also very much polluted Berea, so much so that some of the terraforming sort of mechanics or whatever started collapsing on itself. So Berea's environment started becoming a bit more depressing. It started sort of regressing, if you like. So the Navy moved out, and that's when Drake moved in. So, I mean, you can kind of see why Drake moved in, right? Because there would have been a lot of ship manufacturing infrastructure left behind by the UAE Navy. So wonderful, you just move in, buy it for cheap. A lot of these places were like left empty, so you just move in. And then secondly, again, the location of Magnus, you know, being so close to Terra, being so close to Ellis, being so close to Stanton, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like that scrapyard that's on Route 66. Or let's say there was a magic road that connected New York, LA, you know, Philadelphia, Boston. This is a scrapyard that you have to pass if you want to get to one of these cities. So a really good strategic decision for Drake to be positioned at Berea, I think. The other two planets, guys, literally just one of them's the remnants of a gas giant, which is Magnus 1, the core that's left over, and the Magnus 3 is a super Jupiter gas giant. Only 3 planets, and only one of them is habitable. So that's Berea in a nutshell. That's why Drake bought there. Makes perfect sense. And we've got one picture of Berea, and I'll wrap it up there, guys. Here it is. It's a little bit, so this is an artist's impression, and I know it's only one scene, but usually when an artist does an impression of a place, they're trying to communicate as much to you as possible in a picture. You know, they want to communicate 1,000 words. So looks a bit depressing, but in the back there is hope. In the background you can see the sky rises, you can see lights are on, you can see cranes are working, and because Drake has come to Berea, you know, it's kind of rejuvenated, it's rejuvenating the economy. There's jobs for people and things like that, but you know, there's still probably a lot of dilapidated buildings. There's a lot of abandoned manufacturing places still around, a lot of scrap kind of everywhere, but a lot of innovative, hardworking people probably have survived there for centuries, and now that Drake's there, it's kind of put a nitro boost into the economy. So yeah, guys, that's Berea, and Drake, as we can see, is, you know, very much power to the people. Whether you're a criminal or not, we don't care. We want to bring you some cheap, cost-effective ships to help you either start your career in salvaging, or start your career in data salvaging, or start your career in the medical world with the Cutlass Red. We allow you to go bounty hunting or do logistics, or heck, if you want to run a mobile shopping center, Drake's got the solution for you as well. See you next time, guys. Bye for now.